Title: My husband's best friend had a big Johnson, so I asked him to impregnate me during the few months he had left before he passed away. When I gave birth, my husband demanded a DNA test. That's when I spilled the beans and added, "You start." I still remember the night my husband demanded the DNA test. His face was pale, his hands shaking, veins bulging at his temples. He thought he'd caught me in a lie, cornered me, humiliated me. But he had no idea that night wasn't his victory, it was mine. For years, I believed in my husband. He was the steady man, the loyal one, the childhood sweetheart who promised me forever. And his best friend, Daniel, he was family. The kind of man who sat at our table every Sunday, who carried our groceries when my husband couldn't be bothered, who laughed too loudly and hugged too tightly. We were a trio once. My husband trusted Daniel more than anyone. I trusted him too, until I started seeing what my husband truly was. Behind the facade, my husband was cruel in whispers and silences. Not fists, no, but sharper weapons. Neglect, mockery, absence. He'd chip away at me when no one was looking. And Daniel, he saw, he noticed, and unlike my husband, he cared. But time wasn't on his side. Daniel was sick. A brutal countdown was ticking above his head. Doctors gave him months, not years. That's when I made my choice. I discovered my husband's affair by accident. A perfume that wasn't mine clinging to his shirt. Texts hidden in a folder labeled work. Pictures of hotel rooms that told the story without words. The same man who mocked me for not being enough was out there worshiping someone else. It wasn't just betrayal. It was annihilation. I could have screamed, I could have begged, but no, rage is useless unless it's controlled. I didn't need to destroy him in the moment. I needed to erase him, slowly, methodically. So I stayed silent. I smiled at him at dinner. I tucked our children into bed while my mind sharpened itself into a weapon. Daniel was dying. My husband was cheating. And me? I was about to turn both into the perfect storm. One night, I looked Daniel in the eye and said it. I want you to give me a child before you go. His lips trembled, not with lust, but with gratitude. He knew his life would end, but through me, he could leave something behind. Something my husband could never take away. He agreed, quietly, without questions. The months that followed were deliberate. Every doctor's visit, every excuse, every hidden moment was orchestrated with precision. My husband didn't suspect a thing. He was too busy tangled in someone else's sheets. When I finally became pregnant, I watched my husband's pride swell. He thought it was his. He celebrated like a fool. He didn't see Daniel's faint smile at the corner of the room, or the way my eyes lingered just a second too long. The child was born with Daniel's eyes. Deep, kind, unmistakable. My husband brushed it off at first. Denial is powerful. But whispers started. Family murmured. Neighbors looked twice. And then he snapped. "I want a DNA test," he demanded one night, his voice sharp, brittle, like glass about to shatter. I didn't argue. I didn't panic. I simply waited. When the results came back, I handed him the envelope. He tore it open, and I watched his world collapse in silence. His jaw locked, his knuckles turned white. He looked at me like I was a stranger, like I'd stolen the ground from beneath him. That's when I spoke. Calm, cold. "You should raise this child in honor of your best friend." He exploded. Rage poured out of him in ways I'd never seen. He smashed glasses. He shouted curses. He accused me of betrayal while the ghost of his own affair hung in the air. "Daniel," he spat, veins straining in his neck. "You let him?" I didn't flinch. "Yes. While you were busy fucking someone else, I gave your best friend the one thing he never had time for, a legacy, a family." He staggered back like I'd struck him, because the truth wasn't just infidelity. It was justice. It was poetic. His best friend left something behind, while he, my husband, would leave nothing but ashes. He couldn't handle it. His pride shattered into shards too sharp to hold. He left, packed his bags, slammed doors, threw threats like knives. He ruined himself in court, ruined his reputation with drunken rants and desperate accusations.
And in the end, he abandoned me with 3 children. His blood, Daniel's blood, my blood. He thought it was punishment. But really, it was freedom. Now, when I watch my children sleep, I see Daniel's eyes staring back at me. Not weakness, not guilt. Legacy, strength, proof that I turned betrayal into power. My husband destroyed himself trying to destroy me. That was his choice. And me? I survived. I rebuilt. I raised children who will never know their father's cowardice, only the quiet dignity of the man he once called his best friend. I don't regret a single move. Every piece was calculated, every silence sharpened, every revelation delivered like a blade to the throat. And when people ask me if I feel guilty, I smile, because guilt is for the weak. I chose justice, and justice never apologizes.